Hey guys, I'm Will from Tested.
And I'm Norm from Tested.
Norman Chan, I love bamboo.
You love bamboo.
I love bamboo.
I'm sorry to disappoint you. There is no bamboo today.
I love wood, just in general. I'm a wood aficionado.
Will loves wood. We have wooden hammers.
We got a
mallets.
Yes.
Right there. And surprise, wood back phone.
Wood back on the phone. That's not a case. It's not a sticker. It's actually real wood. I like that. I think that looks nice.
It looks like a sticker.
We'll
talk about that in just a second.
On camera, it looks like a sticker. In person, it looks okay.
It looks like a sticker.
Okay.
In person, it looks like a sticker. This is the Moto X 2014.
Right.
Motorola, which had previously been bought by Google, now belongs to Lenovo.
Yeah.
Released their second generation phone. Last year, it was a big deal. You know, Eric Schmidt walked around, this is our new phone. It's going to be assembled in America, and it was not a great phone. So thoroughly mediocre, the first gen Moto X, largely because 1080p phones were coming out, and it was a 720p phone. Battery life wasn't that great. Had some unique features, but not a really compelling phone. And Google had the Nexus 5, which is already a great phone, or what's coming out.
And was a cheap phone, too.
And was a cheap off-contract price phone.
So this is the Moto X 2014 edition. Is it still made in America?
It is still assembled in America.
Okay, but they take pieces from around the world.
Yeah, they take pieces around the world. And they've done a lot in the past year to try to catch up, I suppose you'd say, to the modern phones. It's a bigger phone. So this is, instead of a 4.7-inch 720p phone, is actually a 5.2-inch phone. And the thing I like about the physical design is it's curvy in all the right ways. The back, as I'll show right here, you can see it actually curves up.
Does it like taper down the length of the phone, or does it get flatter as you get over the bottom? It's the same curve all the way down.
Same curve all the way down. A little bit the back of the end, like just a little bit.
Yeah.
But that curve, and it's a little bit thinner here. The edges actually do a neat thing like the other phones where they taper, and we can see it tapers out just a little bit. So the grip is actually really good.
It's a pretty big phone.
Yeah.
But it looks like it fits in your hand well.
Now, pretty big is relative because I've been using previous this phone, the OnePlus One, which is a 5.5-inch phone. Same screen size as your iPhone 6 Plus.
Duke.
So this is actually going down in size, not only from a 5.5-inch to a 5.2-inch, but if I'm going to turn the screens on for a second, and there goes your cute daughter, the use of bezel on the Moto X 2014 is really efficient. There's very little bezel at all.
Yeah, it doesn't have the chin and the forehead that the iPhone 6 has, or even your OnePlus One has.
Yeah, and a lot of that's because there are no dedicated buttons. It is back to, like the Nexus 5, the digital buttons, the software buttons.
You've used phones at this point that use both the digital buttons and the screen buttons. Do you have a preference at this point, or is it?
My preference is actually the physical buttons.
You like the physical buttons better?
I like the haptic feedback of the physical button. You get a little bit of haptic feedback with the screen here, but I like the light up on the physical buttons. It really is a personal preference. Some people hate the physical buttons because they can be inconsistent between phones. On Android phones, the back button, for example, on the OnePlus One, instead of being on the left, is actually on the right. And some people like digital buttons because there's this very thin chin and forehead on their phones.
So if you were buying one phone to use a year, for 2 years, would this be a purchasing decision thing, or would you just get the phone and then deal with the buttons or no buttons?
I think you deal with the buttons or no buttons.
It's not that big a deal.
It's not that big a deal, and sometimes the companies trade off because they add the extra forehead and chin. It means they can put a bigger battery.
Right.
For example, the HTC phone. So this is a 5.2-inch. It is a 1080p screen now.
Okay.
And we'll talk about what I think are the three most important things for cell phones: display, the camera, and then the battery life. We'll go each of those things separately. Inside is now a Snapdragon 2.5 gigahertz 801. There's nothing special about that. It is the high-end Snapdragon processor that's in the vast majority of high-end phones, whether it's from HTC, whether it's from it's the Qualcomm Snapdragon, whether it's on the Motorola or even the OnePlus One. Many of these phones use that same 801 Snapdragon.
Performance problems at all?
No performance problems at all. Design also, as we go back to that, is slightly changed from the Moto X last year. It now has this aluminum bar around the edge. Now, you would think the aluminum bar where, like for example, the iPhone 4 and 4S could cause some reception problems, but I had no reception problems whatsoever.
You're able to make calls holding it however you want.
However I want. The two lines are actually on the bottom here.
Okay.
These plastic lines, but gripping it from the bottom, gripping from the top, no problem whatsoever. And one final thing I do want to call out about the way I hold this phone, because it is, for the size of the phone, I think actually a really small, comfortable size.
For the size of the screen.
For the size of the screen, yes.
Yeah.
For a 5.2-inch screen, I think it's a fantastic size phone. It actually, I still use like the pinky easel position on the bottom.
You're holding it like the iPhone 5 or 5S.
Yeah, like the iPhone 5 or 5S, but on the back, it has this divot here, which I think, I don't know whether they plan on that being a touch sensor or something. It does nothing.
Okay.
And it's actually
indented?
It's a great way to hold the phone. It is indented, so actually you can see in the light
it gives you a nub to rub
It's
gently.
totally a nub to put my finger. Some companies use that space for a fingerprint sensor.
Yeah.
It's not in here, but I put my finger there anyway because it's a comfortable way to hold the phone.
It's your rubbing nub.
There it goes. And on the side, of course, you have your power button here, which actually has a nice, it's a nice texture to it. I don't know, you can't see it actually at all, but it's not smooth.
Is it grippy?
It's grippy for the top, which separates it from the smooth edges of the volume
Oh,
buttons.
and the volume, and see, that's the thing that makes me crazier than anything else about the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, is putting the power opposite the volume up and down buttons is crazy making.
Right. So on the iPhones, the volume is here, so when you hit the power, you sometimes hit your volume.
Either way.
Either way. When they're all aligned here, they did the smart thing of changing the finish on the power button, so you know you're always hitting that power button.
I mean, so from where we're sitting right now, this looks like a pretty well-designed phone.
Yeah, like, I think aesthetically, the front bezel, it's like curved from top to end. It's not exactly the gentle curve as, for example, the Nexus 4 or the iPhone 6.
What are the red stripes at the top and bottom?
This, purely aesthetic.
Oh, okay.
Purely aesthetic. So, let's talk about some of the customization.
Well, it looks like when you put it face down, it won't rest on the screen.
It does. Yeah,
okay.
It's correct. It does pop up a little bit. There you can see that. So
when so if you put it down on like a piece of sand or something, you don't scratch it up, presumably.
Nothing.
Neat.
It's totally fine. Just fingerprints.
It's clever.
Customization is a big thing. So there's what Motorola calls the Moto Maker website, and you can customize things such as you have the option of a black phone or the white phone, the color of this trim here at the top, the accent. On the back, that is the same color as the ring here. And then
is that configurable, or it's always all
tied.
the trim's the same color?
Yeah, the trim is the same color. And then the back here, which can be plastic. I think there are 17 different colors in plastic, several different leather finishes.
Like a shiny plastic, or is it a
matte plastic?
Okay.
And then also the wood backing here, which I think the default is bamboo. I chose a design which on the website looked fantastic. I was like, oh, I'm going to choose tested colors. Here's black. Orange here, Giants orange, San Francisco Giants orange, and then a dark. This is I believe, the ebony color.
Okay.
And I ended up not liking this as much as I thought I would.
Is that an AT&T logo?
That is
laser
AT&T.
etched? Oh, that's unfortunate.
On the back. And you can get the AT&T version. This is tested, the AT&T version, which you can buy on contract. You can also buy it full price. But Motorola does have a developer unlocked version.
Do they have a CDMA version as well, or is it just a GSM phone?
Just a GSM. All the bands you would need for LTE. The AT&T version comes with AT&T software. And it locks out things like tethering unless you pay for it at AT&T.
Right.
The unlocked version, you can just get tethering.
Can you configure the aluminum band? Does that come in different colors? Or is it always the same
always
kind of
the same
gray?
aluminum band. Yeah, that's the one thing that's consistent across everything. You can get the white phone, still has the same aluminum band.
Okay.
Apparently I got the Bengal Tiger phone. This is very Bengal Tigers. It's my Tiger phone.
Does that wood grain pattern look like the wood grain pattern that was on the website, or does it? Because wood doesn't always, wood varies.
Yeah, I would say it's. The wood back looks, because it's such a thin piece of wood, no matter how you look at it on screen or in person, I think it looks like a sticker. I think, and people have called it out, that's a nice sticker you got on the back of your phone. Maybe the bamboo one looks better.
Cool sticker, bro.
Cool sticker on my phone. If you look up close and you can actually see it as the light bounces off here, you do see the texturing, and that's like something you can appreciate. But the feel of the phone, the feel of the back being wood, really, I mean, it just feels like there's a coating on there anyway, so it doesn't feel like it's a rough wood.
It feels a little woody, but not as a wood aficionado, it is not my favorite piece of wood ever.
Yeah, like you don't feel the grain much at all. Again, maybe the bamboo one's better.
I wouldn't expect to feel the grain on a piece of wood that thick, but I would expect it to be a little bit more woody. Is the leather like a gnarled, knobbly wet leather, or is it like smooth wallet leather?
Smooth wallet leather.
Okay.
And from my conversations with Ars Technica's Ron, who's their Android guy, their leather phone scratches extremely easy.
Well, I mean, I would expect it. Leather wears
scratches.
Oh.
Like keys, put in your pocket with keys, you will get scratches on there that you cannot repair. So if you're buying a Moto X, unless you really want the leather, go with either like the bamboo. I think a lighter color works better for this, or the plastic, which is also cheaper.
I really like the leather back on my old BlackBerry Bold. That was a super cool touch on that phone, I thought.
So the three things that I think matter most to a phone, one is the display.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, this is a 5.2-inch 1080p display. That's pretty much the standard now across the high-end Android phones. This is a Super OLED display.
What is it? What makes it super, Norm?
That's just a Samsung's high contrast.
It's resolution and contrast?
Yes. So Samsung makes this. It is still, at this resolution, has to be a Pentel display.
Okay.
I'm telling you right now, that matters.
You can tell the difference?
I think that a lot of people think that you can't tell the difference between an LCD 1080p and an AMOLED Pentel. You can absolutely tell the difference. If you look at the font rendering, you can tell that the pixels are not square. And
it's more hexagonal, right?
Yes. It doesn't bother. It makes the high resolution look not as high resolution.
Do you
I know it doesn't matter for a lot of people.
Does color reproduction suffer still, or is that?
I think color reproduction is a little oversaturated on this.
Okay.
In more thorough tests by DisplayMate and other websites, they've noted that the color reproduction on the Moto X is not nearly as good as that on some LCD phones, especially, for example, the iPhone 6, or even something like the OnePlus One. I think that's not indicative of all AMOLED screens. Something I actually do not like actively about this particular AMOLED screen is when I turn the phone off, you might be able to see a little bit of rainbow shimmer.
Well, it doesn't look like it's not black.
And it's not black at all. It's gray.
Yeah, like if you look at
I know you have a white.
It's gonna the contrast is gonna make this weird.
But there we go. That's basically the same angle.
Yeah.
It's not black at all. I know AMOLED is known. Basically, the individual pixels are lit. The pixels are lit individually. That you can get a full black screen in the dark. Now at night, that's great. At night, you're not going to see this like the reflections, the glare at all, and the blacks will be very true black. The darkest, much darker than an LCD.
Right. No backlight to bleed through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in indoor lighting or outdoors, it actually looks actively gray against
it's almost
black
tan
bezel.
looking from here. I mean, that's a minor complaint. How often
and when
do you
say
look
from
at your
here,
phone?
you're not talking about looking at the screen.
I'm looking in person.
Looking at the screen here.
Again, like how often are you going to look at your phone with the screen off, though? Really?
It's not. It's inconsequential.
Right.
But if that's the kind of thing that can bug you, and for me it does, then that's just something to call out.
Fair enough.
I do prefer the LCDs, having an LCD screen, 1080p LCD over that. Now, Motorola can't actually do that because there are some features that make use of this OLED screen, and we'll get to that in a second.
Let's talk about the second of your trifecta of important features. I agree with your trifecta for what it's worth. It's camera.
The camera. Yeah. So we're going to flip on the back. This is a 13 megapixel camera on the back.
It looks like a lot of glass from here.
It's actually, that's the flash.
Oh.
The flash is a two-tone ring flash, which is supposed to provide more even light distribution at medium range, not up close. I don't shoot with a lot of flash, so it didn't make a difference for me. But it's 13 megapixels on the back, and then on the front, in the corner here, is a 2 megapixel camera.
So pretty standard. On the front.
Yeah. HTC actually has a new phone out that has a really high resolution front camera, and some other phone manufacturers also. I think this is as a quote-unquote selfie cam. If you're someone who loves taking selfies, this isn't the phone for you. If you want to just do Skype video calls, then it's sufficient.
So we're entering the era of the selfie phone.
And some companies like HTC sell their cameras as great selfie phones and have software specifically for that. For the camera testing, What I want to do is show, when I test cameras, I want to see what the best image quality is going to be like for macro, for landscape, and then in the best optimal light. If I can control all the scenarios, what's it going to be like? So for example, this is natural light. This is a macro image. This is as close as I could get to it without while keeping things relatively in focus. And this picture of Mario and Luigi looks fantastic. Blown up. The detail is really all there, and this is at the lowest ISO, which I believe is 50 ISO here.
And you can control that. Are they using a stock camera app, or
they have their own camera app, which actually I'll show you right now. But you can't control the ISO as you could have on the HTC phone. You do swipe in from the side. You have your auto HDR, your flash here, touch to focus, camera modes, panorama. But in terms of finding the optimal lighting condition, the optimal subject, for example. There's one photo I took at New York Comic Con, which I thought, so this looks fantastic. Like this is this Nautilus ship, blown up, 13 megapixel. It's not going to replace my Sony RX100 or my DSLR, but this photo, it looked really great.
Do you think that these are printable?
This is absolutely printable.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're printing this in 5x7, this is going to be a really nice image. And again, this is the best lighting condition, the lowest ISO, steady hands. Shutter was at 160.
Was that behind glass?
And this is behind glass, and there's very minimal.
I don't see very much reflection, which is good.
Right there, a little bit there, but it's super well lit.
How does it do in the places I take pictures with my camera are places either where I'm chasing a kid or out at night in a bar or something like that. How did this do those kinds of
low light. So here's, for example, out in New York, and I think the nighttime stuff is okay. I'm not going to say good. It's not bad either.
Is this an HDR shot?
This is not an HDR shot, but the lights are blown out.
Yeah.
So it doesn't resolve the difference between dark and light. Is
that a stage you're shooting there?
No, that's the Columbus Circle.
Oh, okay.
Actually, what it is. For example, this is a fairly normal, it should be pretty balanced in terms of how lit things are, but lights just get really blown out. And that's not abnormal for a lot of cameras. Here's Times Square, for example, and while you can get okay lighting resolve here, everything else in the back just gets blown out.
This is one of those situations where there's a handful of cameras that do really well at night, and then most of them are kind of okay. And this seems like it's more in the okay category.
This is more in the okay category. The thing I really thought was bad was the shutter speed. So like you said, if you want to take photos of moving things, I don't have a kid, but I like taking photos of dogs, for example.
You can borrow one if you want.
I think I'm all right. Okay. Even dogs that are stationary, it didn't do so well. Here, I tried to get, and the dog was moving a little bit, but trying to get a photo of a dog while it's walking by.
Wow.
Yeah.
Missed.
There is an option to hold down the shutter button, and it takes a sequence of images.
Like a burst?
A burst, and then you choose the best one. But even pulling out the camera during daytime, I wanted to get this photo of a dude with walking around with a parrot on his shoulder.
Were you in Brooklyn?
No, this is in San Francisco.
Wow.
This is right around the office. This camera didn't activate fast enough for me to actually get a good picture.
So are you talking about time from pocket to camera mode?
Pocket to camera to holding the button to snapping the shot. That delay between touching the screen to take a picture and actually saving the picture, he turned the corner.
So Motorola, this is jumping ahead a little bit, but does Motorola, is there a shortcut on the lock screen to jump straight into the camera, or do you have to open the desktop and
you have to open the desktop. Actually, right here.
Oh, okay.
There you go. You slide in. There you go.
But still, that's fairly slow.
And that's one of the reasons for that is, we can talk about software now, is because the software in the lock screen is actually not the full processor software. It runs in a low processor mode. There's actually an algorithm here that detects ambient movement. So in the Motorola, the first Motorola, when the first Moto X, and I'm sorry for the glare here, you'd be able to access the phone by picking it up.
Right.
So without touching anything, if you pick up your phone, it will show you on here the time. With the Moto X 2014, it's actually a proximity infrared sensor. So the idea is that if you look at the phone, and I've done this several times with this phone, I have it on my desk, and I glance my head over it, it'll show me the time.
It just turned on.
It just turned on.
So this is, like this is like there's a proximity sensor in most phones that happens when you hold it up to your face. It knows, oh, I should turn the screen off so you don't fat finger the side of the phone while it's on. But this is something new, and this runs all the time. You can't turn, or can you turn this off?
You can flip it off, but it's very low power.
Okay.
Both the sensoring, and I've tried this off, both the sensor and the screen, because now we go back to that screen, it's only lighting those pixels around here and not using the full CPU power. It's actually not sucking a ton of power.
Oh, so this is your OLED specific feature that only works when because this phone is an OLED.
Because this is an OLED screen.
Got it.
The other thing is that I love that you can tap on a notification. Now I know I'm using my LG G watch and I get a lot of my notifications on this watch here, but when people get notifications on their phones, you know, your phone buzzes, and you unlock your phone, you swipe down and see your notification. Or some phones, you have a lock screen. The lock screen notifications here are wonderful.
That's what those two circles underneath the time are, right?
And it's up to 3 circles, 3 different type of notifications. I'll turn off the phone right now, and let's see.
Is it
here?
Only 3 notifications? Like you only can set 3 apps you get notifications from, or it's only the 3 most recent?
The 3 most recent, and then they'll have like ellipses. There'll be another circle that will tell you to unlock the phone. Actually, send me an email or send me a notification, and we'll see it pop up.
Consider yourself about to be notified.
A second. But the idea is that if I flip the phone on, I can actually just hold my finger here. That's how you unlock. Okay, let me turn off the phone and get that notification. This is running Android 4.0. Oh, there it goes. So that's a Facebook notification, Facebook Messenger.
Yep. But wait, there's more.
I can actually, I'll wait. Android 4.4.4, the latest version of Android. Here goes a text message icon and a Hangout. Now, if I want to, without unlocking the phone, see what it is, and Instagram, I can tap the Instagram. Oh, look, someone liked my photo.
Oh, that's
I can actually
cool.
see that information right there.
Do you see which photo it was?
I can tap here, and look, Will Smith sent me a message.
I just said yo.
And if I swipe up, it'll actually go to that message.
Oh, and it deep links you straight all the way into the app. That's actually really nice.
Now, or I think the last one was an email, and I get, look, 5 emails. Or 5 messages.
Just short. Oh, that's
if
cool.
If it's only one, then I can go straight to that email. From there. And there goes the third one is the ellipses button.
So when you tap the ellipses, it says, "Oh, here are the other ones," and you can't click into them. But I guess you can
just go
drill down.
That.
Okay, neat. But then you have the normal Android notification screen when you get into the actual
bar scrolls down.
Okay.
The other feature that's unique to Moto X, that's an improvement on last year, is the passive voice activation.
Oh, so like when you say "Okay, Google," it doesn't do stuff?
Okay, Google, I'm sorry, we're trolling you guys right now, and anyone with Android
Xbox, turn off. Yes.
Siri. Okay, Google.
Hey, Siri.
Now you'll notice that when we said, okay, Google.
Cortana. Wait, no, nobody has that.
It didn't actually flip us on, and that's because with Moto Voice, on 2014 Moto X, you can actually program the language. You program your activation keyword. And it does train to know your voice. It does require that your keyword have a certain number of syllables. I'm going to turn off the phone right now.
So like when I say computer status?
It didn't actually work. It worked before.
Computer. Oh, there it goes.
Let's see.
Hi, Norman.
And okay, computer status. Computer status. There it goes.
So can you program the response?
Take a selfie. You see what it did right there?
It just dumped you to OK Google.
Dump into Google. So this Moto Voice actually, aside from some of its basic features, is just a front end for OK Google.
And it seems like it's a slower front end.
So if you're using it for a Google search, if you're using it for IMDb facts or wiki stuff, it actually, or even making a phone call through OK Google or creating a reminder, it actually is slower than if you just tap OK Google. But for certain things, like weather time and theoretically the camera, it's instant.
And one of the things, but the other thing that this does that is pretty unique in phones that I'm aware of is it's always listening, right?
It's always listening.
So even when it's turned off in your pocket, presumably.
It runs a special processor that's and with the DSP that just listens all the time. It consumes very low power, but it's always running.
So I want to show the Google thing again because it is slow, and I want people to understand what we're talking about.
Computer status. How far away is the moon?
So literally, you have to wait for this to happen. And on your normal Android phone, if you said "Okay, Google" from the home screen or from the lock screen, it would just go straight to that last screen that we saw.
So in a normal Android phone, if I just did, How far away is the moon? It's one step closer,
Yeah.
and it's actually faster.
Yeah, and you don't have the blue screen pop up and then the home screen and then the, yeah. So that, like, it's a neat idea, but it seems like it's kind of executed,
Yeah. One useful feature built in here into the Motorola software is smart driving and sleep mode. So it thinks it knows when you're going to bed and will turn off notifications.
Based on your behaviors?
Based on when the sun sets, and sometimes based on behaviors. For driving, it is based on behavior. So if you're in a taxi, for example, it will think you're driving.
And then it switches to car mode?
Yes, which you can turn off, but the car mode actually then all your incoming text messages get read out loud automatically. If you
Well, that could be awkward on the bus.
Well, it gives you an option. It'll say, Will Smith sent you a text message. Would you like to read it aloud?
Yeah.
So you don't have to glance over at the phone. That I think is a really good feature. I think the best part of the Moto software is the lock screen stuff. Whereas the voice has an extra step. This removes the extra step of unlocking your phone to see your notification. Not every notification you receive needs to be one that you need to read an email away, right? Because most phones, it's indiscriminate between an Instagram like, a Facebook retweet, or Twitter retweet.
Game Center notification. All the garbage you don't need versus the 3 things you actually do.
And with this, you can discriminate between which one, and you know which you actually want to turn off the phone. Can
you set the software to only show you notifications from certain apps on the lock screen?
No, it's everything.
It's everything.
Yeah,
so you have to
configure it in your notifications.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I guess it's good that you don't have to configure it in 2 places.
Yeah.
But maybe I can see both sides of that.
Yep. And then battery life.
Yeah.
So
this is the third
most important thing, I think, to modern smartphones today. Now that processors and RAM, and again, this is a 16 gigabyte or 32 gigabyte model. So, no SIM cards or no micro SD cards.
I think what you're saying is we live in a world where performance matters less and less every year.
Less every year.
And now we're seeing things like faster performance at better battery life. So where does this fall on the Android battery life scale?
I think it's very mediocre.
How big a battery is it? Do you know?
It's a 2,300 milliamp hour battery, which is 100 milliamps more than last year. A lot of that's because, and that's, I think, a relatively small battery, bigger than Nexus 5, but not as good as the HTC One M8, and definitely not as good as the OnePlus One.
Well, the M8 is a bigger phone too, right?
It is a bigger phone.
Yeah,
yes,
so bigger phone, more battery.
Yeah. So this is heavier than the Nexus 5. It's 144 grams.
Does the weight change based on the back that you choose?
No.
Okay.
It's all the same. Last year's 130 grams, so it's 14 grams heavier. The battery is only slightly more capacity. I think their battery, with algorithms, it's a little, it's more efficient, but still not to a point where I'm happy with the battery. And I can show you, I'm running an app right now for the battery. It's actually, I'm running it on pretty high, pretty efficient right now. But on a trip like going to LA all day, it went dead before I came back.
When you were in New York last week for Comic-Con,
2% by the time I got back to the hotel room at 9 p.m.
Constantly plugging. Did you carry a battery with you?
I carried a charger with me.
Okay.
Yeah. I do have a screenshot here, which I can show, I think. Well, I'll throw up one of the charts I downloaded for my battery life. But
wow.
On recent trips, we're talking about 12 hours all the way down into the red.
And this is the days. This is from the time you unplug it in the morning until you plug it in at night.
Yes,
basically.
And that's a lot. That's a pretty heavy usage. I'm just not used to this. Not as used to this as I had been coming from the OnePlus One.
Is that an Android feature or a Moto feature?
Oh, this is Android.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just Android's battery monitor.
It's nice. I haven't seen that one yet.
So I don't think I'm gonna stick with this phone.
Okay.
I think that some of its features are nice, but some of the features, for example, the passive stuff you can actually get with applications. Like you said, all phones have proximity sensors, and you can get applications that let you, swipe your hand in front of a proximity sensor, and it'll show whatever you want it to show.
The thing that I like about this conceptually is, it feels weird to me that my phone, even though it has an accelerometer and gyroscope and all that, and should know when I lift it up and put it to my head, that it doesn't know the difference between when it's face down on a table and in my pocket and in my tray on the car. HTC phones and even old Nokia phones have been doing that for years. So, I guess that's it.
Yeah, I think I'm going to switch. I think battery life is the biggest thing. The screen, I think, is inconsequential. LCD, OLED, people are going to fall in different camps for that. I fall into the LCD camp, which helped me push toward the OnePlus One again. But really, battery life, from my perspective, and having that unlocked phone, if you have the ability to buy OnePlus One, I would get that. The Nexus 5 is overdue for an upgrade. I think the rumors are there's going to be a Nexus 6 this year. That does suck if you're looking for a smaller phone. And so I would say get this phone if you want a 1080p screen on a on a relatively small,
closer to 5-inch than to 6-inch. What else is out there in the closer? The Nexus 5 is
Nexus
the closest
5.
thing.
But again, that's using
it's a year and a half
a
old.
little dated hardware.
Yeah.
Battery life on that was even worse than this, and the camera on that I thought sucked.
What about Motorola's history with Android upgrades?
Pretty good. The Moto X from last year got upgrades really soon. That's partly because it's owned by Google. They are committed to Android L, and when Android L comes out, I would expect that an upgrade would come in a few weeks.
Weeks,
Yes.
not months.
They do have access, unlike Cyanogen, to early code that Google hands out to them.
Okay. So, I mean, it seems like it's a pretty good phone if you want a 5-inch phone, maybe your best option out there right now, but presumably updates from Google for the Nexus line coming soon. That's the new Moto X, it's 2014. I still like the wood back. I think that looks really sharp.
Tiger phone.
See you guys next time.